Surprise. Hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? My beard is gray and my name is Trey. All right, so look, today we're going to do, this morning we're going to do, it's going to use a service called AWS CloudFront. Okay, this is the content delivery network section. So let's go ahead and get started. So as we meet with our customers, right? And as y'all are coming in here, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, share the content, and go back and check the other videos that we have in this series if this is your first one that you are ever seeing before. This is an interactive game that teaches you all about how to use the cloud, AWS Cloud, if that's something that you're interested in doing, okay? So our customer says, hey, he says, hi there. Welcome to the offices of the city's best game development. We're the creators of some of your favorite games. I love your games. How can I help? We recently had some complaints about the loading time of our new online game landing page. We tried to host the game content in several different areas around the world, but the delays still occur. Any idea on how we can fix this? Absolutely. You want to use something called a content delivery network, or CDN. At AWS, we have a CDN service named Amazon CloudFront that provides a global network of edge locations. An edge location is where end users access AWS services from points closer to them geographically. These locations can serve as a cache for frequently accessed data, and they provide incredible latency reduction, right? Does this mean that I still need to host all of my data in multiple Amazon EC2 instances that are in close proximity to our customers? No, you don't. Your commonly requested data will sit at the AWS Edge location, and requested data will come from those locations directly. Using Edge locations, customers' experience becomes less of a concern when you consider the geography of your services. So our servers wouldn't need to keep servers the same video files and patch notes to everyone. That sounds great. I have a follow-up question. Is your website using dynamic backend scripts? Our server is currently using client-side scripts only. Great. I suggest that you consider using Amazon S3 to host your website instead. The website will be extremely fast, and you won't need to worry about scaling to meet customer demands. This sounds pretty ambitious. I would really appreciate if you could show me a demo of how to set this up. I don't want our service hindered migrating between our technologies. I'd be happy to. The process is less complicated than it might sound. Great. Will you help our gamers become lag-free? Now me, Uncle Trey, as an avid gamer myself, I can't wait to provide this service to the customer, I'm telling you. All right, so we accept this challenge. Superb. Let's get our CDN up and running. All right, so let's go. All right, cool. All right, so content delivery networks, right? So this is the diagram, the AWS diagram of what we're going to do today. If you want to learn more about content delivery networks, when you come here, all you have to do is just click on the video concepts, and it will give you a brief overview of CloudFront, okay? All right, cool. So now this is our diagram, and the first step is this solution uses Amazon CloudFront to speed up the distribution of web content to global users. So you see you have user geolocation. So let's call this America. Let's call this South America. We'll say Europe, right? And then we'll say Asia here, okay? Then we have our edge locations, right? Which will serve as a cache, right? That way, frequently used data can be stored right there. Like, so if everybody always goes to, like, let's say google.com, instead of having to go back to the server every other time, what they'll do is they'll just keep that information right there readily available for people that's in that region of the country, okay? All right, so now we have our edge locations, okay? So now step 2, Amazon CloudFront is a web service that speeds up the distribution of static or dynamic web content such as HTML, CSS, JS, video, and image files to your users by caching content at AWS Edge locations. That's another video on the topic should you want to see it. AWS has over 400 edge locations around the globe. Caching content at the edge location means that requested data can be retrieved from the edge location closer to the user instead of requiring a call to the backend source, such as a Amazon Simple Storage Service, or like we always commonly say, Amazon S3. Okay. When a user requests content served by CloudFront, the request is routed to the edge location that provides the lowest latency time delay so that content delivered with the best possible performance. Okay. If the content is already in the edge location with the lowest latency, CloudFront delivers it immediately. If the content is not in the edge location, CloudFront retrieves it from the origin, an S3 bucket, right? A media package channel or an HTTP server. All right, for example, a web server. This solution uses two origin servers, an S3 bucket, which is this symbol here, right? And an HTTP server running in the Amazon Elastic Cloud Compute, Amazon EC2 instance, which is this icon right here. Initially, CloudFront is going to serve content from a web server running on an EC2 instance. Okay, then the solution is going to be reconfigured to allow content to be served from an S3 bucket. Now we'll go over to our plan. So these are the objectives that we have here today. All right, so set up a content delivery network using Amazon CloudFront. Then configure an Amazon EC2 instance as the origin for the CloudFront distribution, and then configure an Amazon S3 hosted website as the origin for the CloudFront distribution. All right, then we have our DIY goals, right? So first we have like the practice lab goals, then our DIY goals, reconfigure a CloudFront distribution to use an Amazon S3 website as the origin with index.html as the main page, okay? So now we'll come over here to our practice objectives, and the first thing we always want to do is we want to start our lab, right? Because these different labs take, different times to set up and things like that, so we want to always get that started. Then we can come over here and read the instructions. Now the second thing that I always like to do is I always like to check and see if there are any lab files associated with this exercise. I see right here we have 0 lab files for this particular exercise, so that's good. All right, so in step 1, review the practice lab's objectives in the concept section below. Step 2, click Start Lab to provision your environment, and then click Open AWS Console to begin. So when the lab is ready, this right here will turn into an orange color, and then we click on that, then we go into the Cloud Console. All right, number 3, follow the lab instructions carefully and use the arrows below to navigate between steps. So these are arrows right here. Okay. AWS services not used in this lab are disabled in the lab environment. In addition, the capabilities of the service used to the lab are limited to what the lab requires. So all that's saying is you can't go in and like create additional services, or kind of like, if you're running on a track, you can't go off the path, right? You got to stay like in the lane as we complete this lab exercise. All right, so then we have the concept, right? So in this practice lab, you will set up a content delivery network using Amazon CloudFront, right? You will configure an Amazon EC2 instance as the origin for the CloudFront distribution, right? And then you will configure an Amazon S3 hosted website as the origin for the CloudFront distribution. All right, so let's go. So now we're going to open up our AWS console here, okay? All right, and now we're going to come over here to the landing page. So this is the console home that when we get into our cloud console, okay? All right, so now let's go to step 2. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is click on EC2. All right, so Elastic Cloud Compute, we have that in our favorites. If you don't find it there, then you just you can click on EC2 right here and it will also come up, okay? All right, so now let's click on our instances and let's see what it wants us to do. So here we come here. All right, so we click on the instances block, right? Then we choose our instances. We only have one, which is our CDN content delivery network, and it is a web server, right? So let's check on that. So we have it right here. When we check on this box, all the associated information for our EC2 instance pops up right here, okay? All right, so choose two. So on step 3, we want to copy and paste this public IPv4 DNS, all right, information, okay? And then we'll review and make sure that our instance has passed its 2 static checks, okay? Status checks. So we'll come here, we'll copy that. I'm gonna copy it off screen, okay? Copy the information off screen. All right, and then we wanna make sure it is initializing. So right now, ours is still initializing right here. So we can just read the next step. All right, so right here it says on the details tab under public IPv4 DNS, copy the icon to copy the provided DNS address and then paste it to a text editor, which we did off screen, okay? All right, you will use this DNS address in later steps. So I have it right here. Let me make sure that, yes, I have it right here. All right, cool. The concept behind this, okay? If your application requires the use of dynamic content, such as server-side scripts, you can host your application on Amazon EC2, all right? The next, okay, so in a new browser tab or window address, paste the DNS address that you just copied and then press enter. So now let's open up a new tab right here, right? So we're going to open up a new tab and then we're going to press enter. And now you see that we have our web content right here as planned, right? All right, so now the address should look similar to this, right? And review to see the website is now being hosted by your Amazon EC2 instance. Return to the AWS Management Console in the previous browser tab. Go to the next step. The concept behind this, you may not want to expose your application DNS endpoint directly to the internet for a variety of reasons, including, right, security and overall system availability. All right, so now in the top navigation bar, right, going back to your cloud console, you're gonna type in CloudFront. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is the navigation bar, and we're gonna type in CloudFront. Then we'll go ahead and click and open that guy, all right? So then in the search results, under services, click CloudFront, all right. The concept is Amazon CloudFront is a fast content delivery network service that securely delivers data, video, applications, and APIs, application program for interfaces, to customers globally with low latency, right? Meaning lag, right? High transfer speeds, all within a developer-friendly environment. All right, so on step 6, right, we're gonna click on Create a CloudFront distribution. All right, if you don't see the CloudFront console homepage and the distribution section visible, click on Create That Not Shown. Okay, gotcha. So we'll go ahead and click on Create CloudFront Distribution, and then we'll just go to the next step. Okay, so in the origin section, under origin domain, paste the DNS address that you have copied in the earlier step. So we'll go ahead under origin, we'll paste that DNS information that we copied in the previous step. All right, click anywhere outside the origin domain input box to continue. Doing this may set protocol to HTTPS only. If this happens, change it back to HTTP. All right, so let's make sure, let's see, we're good. Yes, and then now we'll change it back to HTTP, and as you can see, port 80 is open right here, okay? All right, so keep the default setting for protocol HTTP only and port 80. Go to the next step. Concept behind this is CloudFront works seamlessly with any AWS origin such as Amazon S3, Amazon EC2, Elastic Load Balancing, or with a custom HTTP origin, okay? I see we have some people here. Let me take a moment to shout them out. Everybody that please comes in the chat, please go ahead and click like on the video. Let's see, we have a question. Hi, sir. Which I help of your video I was passed. Oh, with the help of the video I passed and got the badge. Okay, hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. That's exactly why I'm doing it, to help people that's unfamiliar with the services. Go ahead and keep going. So I appreciate that. All right. So now back to where we left off, right? So now we come down. When we scroll down, it says cache and key origin request. So now let me see. Scroll down, cache and key origin request right here. Okay, got it. All right, and then click on legacy cache settings. We want to click on legacy cache settings. All right, great. And then we want to scroll down. So we want to use legacy cache settings and then scroll down, okay? For the web application firewall, all right, so we want to say, do not enable security protections. Select this option if your application does not need security protections from a web application firewall, right? So being that this is just a test, we don't imagine a lot of traffic, anything coming like that where we would need a WAF, all right? We'll just go ahead and click that. Says scroll down to the bottom here and then click create distribution. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, cool. So now we're waiting on this CloudFront distribution to deploy. All right, do you have 30 seconds to share your experience? We don't want to do that right now, but we have successfully created a new distribution. All right, great. So let's click on this. All right, so in the success alert, review the message. On the general tab in the details section under last modified, review that the distribution is currently deploying, which it is, right? We saw that, okay? All right, and then here, and then it's deploying, that's right there. All right, under the distribution domain name, click copy the icon to copy the provided domain name. So I see right here, we have, this is the distribution domain name right here. So we have to copy and paste this guy. And let me just copy it off screen just in case, okay? All right, click that, review, and then let me see, on the breadcrumbs menu, click distributions. All right, so here we go. This is the breadcrumbs, right? You follow the breadcrumbs, then we'll go back and click distribution. Go to the next step, all right? So the concept behind this is you can configure CloudFront to require that users access your file using either a signed URL or signed cookies, allowing you to restrict content to specific users. Should have said pre-signed URL. Okay, got it. So we're going to the next step here. All right, so we scroll over, and then you want to review to make sure it says enabled and then the date that it's actually modified here. So we'll go ahead and click on this and then enabled. I don't have the option to scroll. Okay, no matter. All right, cool. So then if you don't see an updated status, refresh. So let's see if we can refresh this here. If we click on this, can't scroll over. Okay, got it. All right, so now go to the next step. The concept is to use your own domain name instead of the one that CloudFront assigns to your distribution. You can use an alternative domain name, also known as a CNAME or canonical name, okay? That just means like another type of name, right? That points to this name. So let's go to, yep. All right, cool. So now, in the new browser or window address bar, the distribution name that you just copied, and then press enter. So now let's see if I can close this. This was the first one from the EC2 instance. I will close that. I will open up a new tab. Then I will copy the distribution name earlier, and you see that that website pops up, right, from our CloudFront distribution. So that's great. That's the intent that we were actually looking for, okay? All right, so now the address should look similar to this. All right, review to ensure that CloudFront is now serving your website hosted on Amazon EC2. So CloudFront is doing that. We created a distribution. Go to the next step. Concept for customer-facing websites, the speed at which the site loads directly impact the user's browsing experience and the success of your business. All right, so now navigate to the S3 console. So we'll go ahead and navigate to S3. We just type it up here in the services bar right here. And you see we already have 2 buckets that's already been created as part of the exercise, okay? All right, so now remember on the top of the navigation bar, choose a service. In the bucket section under access, review to see that public access is allowed for the bucket name that starts with web bucket. So we want to make sure that our S3 bucket is public here. So here we go. And you see, when we come over here to access, you see that this access is public here. The bucket is actually public. All right, so click on the bucket name that starts with web bucket, okay? So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, and then you see these are the contents of our bucket file right here. This is the contents, right? So we have some JavaScript information, right, that goes over the style of the website, right, that lays out just the general heading and stuff like that. Then we have some CSS that goes over the style, look, and fonts and all of that type of information, the index HTML file, and then you have some JPEG information, pictures and stuff like that. That's good. All right, cool. So now let me go ahead. All right, so now we come to the properties. We want to click on the properties of that bucket. So we come up here to the properties tab, right? And then we want to scroll down to the bottom. We'll scroll down. Let's see how far they want us to scroll down. All right, go to where it says static web hosting. So we scroll all the way down to where we have static web hosting right here. Okay, good. All right, then we want to click on this bucket website endpoint, right? This is how the bucket is accessed. So now let me come over here, just in case they want me to do that. Let me copy this off screen. All right, cool. All right. So now click and copy the icon to the copy the bucket website endpoint, go to the next step. The concept behind this is when you configure your bucket as a static website, right? The website is available at the AWS region specific website endpoint of the bucket. Website endpoints are different from the endpoints where you send REST, right? API requests, okay? Now the thing that I want to show everyone, right? Like when you have different services and stuff like that, some services are regional and some services are global. So as you look up here, right, S3 is a global service, right? It's a global service by default. And what that means is throughout your account globally, right, S3 buckets work, okay? All right, so here we go. So when you configure your bucket as a static website, the website is available at the AWS region specific endpoint of the bucket. Website endpoints are different from the endpoints where you send REST data. Got it? All right, so now in the new browser or tab, paste the bucket website endpoint URL. So now within a new tab, we want to paste that public bucket URL, right? And as you can see, our bucket is public right here, so everything works as scheduled. Then we want to review to make sure that our website is exactly what we're looking for, and it says the hunt. All right, so that's the game's website. So after you have confirmed that your application is running on Amazon S3, you can edit the distribution origin to now point to the S3 website endpoint instead of the EC2 public DNS, okay? All right, good. All right, so now we have completed like the walkthrough phase, right? And now we're going to go into the DIY, the do-it-yourself section and see what they want us to do from this point now. Okay, so now we have to reconfigure a CloudFront distribution to use Amazon S3 website as the origin with index.html as the main page. All right, so now let's see how we're gonna do this, right? So reconfigure CloudFront distribution to use Amazon S3 website as the origin. Okay, reconfigure a. So reconfigure a CloudFront distribution. Didn't say create a new one, right? So now let me come back over here to CloudFront. All right, cool. Click on CloudFront. So this is our current distribution that we have right here, okay? So let me see if I can just reconfigure this some sort of way. All right, so that's that. Don't need to change any of that stuff. Let me see something. So we got, origins, right? So I can create a new origin, or maybe I just might need to just create a new distribution. You know what, for sake of simplicity, let me just create a new distribution so it doesn't mess this up. I'll call this, so the origin domain would be this S3 bucket, right? Yes. The origin domain would be the S3 bucket. And enter a URL path to append to the origin domain for origin requests. So I believe they said S3 website is the origin and index.html as the main page. So now let me come here. Ooh, how would I do that though? Index.html. Okay. Let me see if I can do something without closing this out. Okay, great. So now let me come here to the S3 real quick. This is the web bucket. So now let me come here. Let me come here. Okay, so that's the object URL. Yep, this is the object URL. So now let me see. So origin domain, or origin path, enter a URL path to append to the origin domain for origin requests. Let me see how that works out. Let me see, did I miss anything here? We do not want to enable that right there, right? And I think I call this DIY distributions. So now let's come over here, CloudFront URL, and let's see how that works out. The CloudFront distribution you provided is not yet deployed. Wait for enable status and then try again. Okay, so we're waiting on this CloudFront distribution. Yeah, the web bucket. So we're waiting on this actual CloudFront distribution, okay, to be deployed. So that's what we're waiting on, okay? So right now, let me just look back at the instructions and make sure that we are good to go here. All right, so reconfigure a CloudFront distribution to use an Amazon S3 website as the origin with index.html as the main page. Okay, solution validation method. We will verify that the main page HTML page index.html is accessible through the Amazon CloudFront distribution. With the Amazon S3 website endpoint as the origin. Okay, so now we're just waiting here and doing these videos live, right? You know, sometimes this is kind of like what happens, right? We have to wait for the environment to actually spin up and things like that. So just a couple like administrative notes while we're waiting. So I believe right now we are more than halfway done with our AWS Cloud Quest Solutions Architect series, right? So I believe this is like the 6th video within the series. So we have about 6 more videos left, right? So if this is the first series you're starting with, that's not a problem, but you know, I would encourage everyone to start with the Cloud Practitioner series, right? So you know, I have created, I think about maybe 12 to 13 videos prior to this one, and went through the role of AWS Cloud Practitioner. Okay, so I encourage everyone to kind of like, you know, check that out as well, right? A lot of good information in there. You know, I've said this in a couple of videos, but there's like a huge correlation between some of the stuff that they are having you do within this game, the gameism, right? And then what you'll actually do as a job, which, what time is it right now? It is currently 8:35, And I actually start my job in about 25 minutes, right? Well, I work for AWS, so as a cloud support engineer. So, and then like for some people, Uncle Trey, I definitely understand what it's like to have zero cloud knowledge, right? And then you try to play this game. It's gonna be some time where you're stumbling, fumbling, and then you might even run across one or two of these scenarios where you just cannot figure it out at all. You know what I mean? So that's why I decided to make this series. Just in case anyone gets stuck. You can just kind of watch these videos and, it'll coach you through on how to create the solution. All right, so hey, it looks like we have done it. Your CloudFront distribution now points to the Amazon S3 dynamic website. Now return to the city and give your customers the good news. All right, great. So now we're on our way back to the city. Thank you for your solution. Choose a reward. This time I'll choose a house, because I've been putting like a bunch of buildings in the city, and now I got like my own little house right here. This is pretty cool. All right, hey, so thank you all for joining us today in this one. And like I made a promise to the viewers that I would finish this series. Right now it is September 18th, and I promised the viewers that hey, I would try to finish this series before the first week in October. So that's what I'm doing right now. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Right? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I'll see y'all. Thank you.